the Creative Entrepreneurship Lab's spectacular spring webinar series. So a big welcome to you. My name is Martine Durier-Kopp, and I'm the Acting Vice President, Academic and Research at NSCAD University, home of the Cell Lab, as we call it. And it is my pleasure to welcome you here to join us. I'll start with a territorial acknowledgement, recognizing that NSCAD is in Mi'kmaq, on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq Nation. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik Maliseet peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1725. The treaties did not deal with surrender of lands nor resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Wolastoqiyik Maliseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relationship between nations. So a huge welcome again. Thank you to our participants and our very special guests who are joining us today. After every session so far, this is the fourth one that we're running as part of our spring series, we've sent online surveys to participants to you to hear your thoughts on the webinar, on the series, and you have asked us to dig even deeper into the different types of supports available for creative entrepreneurs. So we're excited to bring you today's session, Stakeholders, Funding, and Business Capacity Building, where we hope to do just that. And we are so pleased to welcome our fantastic speakers and guests today, David Eisnor from Futurepreneur, Chris Atwood from CBDC Blue Water, and Paul McGinn from CEED. They all offer such a wealth of knowledge, so I have no doubt that you'll leave the session with fresh insight, ideas, inspiration, knowledge, and most importantly, those critical next steps to start and grow your business. Exactly what our Creative Entrepreneurship Lab is all about. So enjoy the series. And before I turn it over to the director of the Cell, Greg Nazaire, we hope that you will join us for the final series, for the final webinar of the series, which is entitled How Cultural Differences Can Help Your Business Stand Out and Shine. And that will be June the 3rd. So over to you, Greg, to kick off the series.
Thank you, Martine, and welcome everyone. So today I'll be your host once again, that beautiful Thursday afternoon, and we're gonna go over, the analysis of stakeholders, funding, and capacity building partners, and how, as an entrepreneur, how you can deal with your different stakeholders, people who are actually gonna help you build your business, help it to grow, and deliver on your mission. So if we take a look at the business ecosystem, when you're starting a business, it's basically to trying to find the right partner. And when we talk about right partner, sometimes can be the right suppliers, that can be the right outsourcer. It really depends on your, not only just the affinity, but the philosophy. What are the values you're sharing? And sometimes you may have a stakeholders you're gonna need to to deal with. So if you take a look at your business ecosystem, when starting a business, even when you're growing a business, it's trying to find the best relationship possible. It's almost like finding a needle in a haystack. So let's take a look. When we have the business environment, right? You need to go over your business environment to explore it, to see how is the competition, right? Is it something that is fierce? Is it a couple of 2 or 3 competitors? Do you have, whatever you're offering, the craft you have, do you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different competitors around the same area? That may impact the outcome of your business. Let's take a look too, government policies. When we say government policies, not only just the taxes, but the support they can provide to your business in order to grow. The financial environment. All these get into what we'll call basically the entrepreneurial continuum. You're starting, you're growing, and you're trying to consolidate the business. And at every step, you need to carefully, strategically choose your stakeholders whenever you have the opportunity or the privilege to do that. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you have no choice. So let's take a look. Stakeholders, we can define a stakeholder as anyone who has an interest in your venture, and sometimes not just for the profit, but that can be the mission, the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish. And whenever the actions of those parties, those stakeholders involved, can affect your outcome. This is what we define as a stakeholder. So first thing first, you need to identify those strategic relationships you may have. And sometimes there is an old say, we say, you go to war with the army you have sometimes. And when you don't have a choice, you need to get partnered with someone, right? Exactly for the right time, the right reason, the right timing, then you move on. Next step in your business, that may be another type of stakeholder. So sometimes it's not idealistic to have just one person or two based on some criteria. So it depends on your business cycle. It depends on the business phase. Here at the CEL, we have numerous stakeholders. Either we're talking about training, how we're gonna train, how we're gonna facilitate our training delivery, how we're gonna facilitate the access to financing, how we're gonna facilitate collaboration across province or internationally. We're trying to get the best people around so they can help us, so they can share their resources with us, so we can deliver on our mission. So that's what we're doing right now. And to collaborate in order to serve our community, I think it takes a lot of time, but it takes a lot of wisdom. And sometimes it's not optimal, but you need to take into account the bigger picture in order to basically to achieve those objectives. So your stakeholders are extremely important, whether it's your client, how you're going to manage relationship with your client, whether it's your suppliers, how you're going to manage relationship with your suppliers, whether it's even the government, some government, I would say officials or policy makers, because you need to know the laws, you need to know the programs out there. So this is the, I would probably say some of the items we're going to explore today in order to show you how you can basically use strategically your resources, your talent in order to get to the best outcome possible. So collaboration is extremely important. To how you're going to develop those relationships are very, very, very important. So basically, when you have your map, you have to identify your stakeholders, analyze how you can do business with them, how they can help you deliver on your promises, and how you prioritize. For us, we have our first stakeholders, I would say, these are our students, alumni, the NASCAD community. And then we have the broader artistic and cultural community. So you prioritize them. And whatever you're gonna be doing, it has to have them as the main focus. Otherwise, you're gonna be out of bounds. You're not gonna deliver on your mission. You're gonna be all over the place. So it has to be the way you're gonna map your stakeholders. It has to be mission driven. So today, this is what we're gonna see today. It's a pleasure to introduce you to Chris Atwood. Executive Director of the CBDC Blue Water, David Eisnor, Team Lead for Futurepreneur Atlantic Canada, and Paul McGinn, Senior Manager for CEED. These are the stakeholders we have among, the strategic one we have among the pools. This is today, those three gentlemen, they're gonna explain to us how we can work together in order to help entrepreneurs or cultural entrepreneurs in order to have their business to thrive and to basically to create wealth. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us today. And we'll start with David.
Hello, everyone. Let me just, one sec. There we go. Hello, everyone. I don't know if maybe just cue me that you can see my presentation. The whole screen changed on my side when I went to share versus the way I was seeing it a moment ago. So I apologize. So what I would normally do is look around the room and say, I see something. So hello to those folks. Nice to see that you're here. And for those folks this is new, nice to meet you all. I'm here today representing an organization called Futurepreneur Canada. I have a number of slides I'm going to run through and then share a couple of success stories. And then I think most importantly, my second slide, I want you to consider this. What is one thing you were hoping hoping to learn today about starting a small business? So hold on to that question and just reflect on that as you're going through these sessions with all of us today, because it would be really wonderful to have some great questions and answers as we go through today's presentation. But to start, I guess I'll share, we are a not-for-profit and we provide funding and mentorship support to new entrepreneurs. This is just a little bit of a snapshot of who we can support. And you'll see artists is certainly listed here as one of the areas. But some of the other areas that I'm sure some of our NASCAD students and alumni might be falling into, sometimes it's technology and IT. You might be an artist, but you have found a way through technology to support an entrepreneur. Other times it's retail and clothing. So I've got a couple examples that I'll share later on as well, how artists blend into some of these other industries to be successful in business. We provide a number of great resources. We start out with providing support around how to write a business plan, forecasting. We've got some really great resources on our website. So don't have a ton of time to dig into this right now, but I certainly would encourage anybody to go to our website, futurepreneur.ca. There's a link at the very end of the slide that you can actually view to go to our website, but click on resources. And something that's coming up very timely in the next 2 weeks, starting on June 11th, we have a Rock My Business workshop series. That's all about putting together a business plan. It's a 3-hour workshop delivered by our entrepreneur residents. And the following week is a Rock My Cash Flow. So some great workshops coming up that are free in the near future. So certainly check those out along with the other great resources. But the focus of today, that what I wanted to share, is mostly our startup program for new entrepreneurs. So it's all about funding and mentorship. So this is just a bit of a breakdown of what we can offer. I won't go into too much detail, but generally speaking, we can offer up to $60,000 to support a new entrepreneur getting started. A little bit of information about the interest rate, whether you need collateral, is all listed here on this page. And something that we do at Futurepreneur that's slightly different, let's just say, than if you went to a bank for financing, is in the first year, we recognize that you're starting a brand new business. And as an organization that supports entrepreneurs, in the first year, we only charge interest. We thought, we'll make those payments a little smaller in that first year to help you first through the first 12 months. And then it's interest plus principal for the remaining 4 years. So that's something that we do that helps those entrepreneurs in the early stage. 6.2% interest, that's across the board for the loans that we give. So that's from a business perspective, that's a decent rate. It may not be your mortgage, it's not 2 point whatever percent that your mortgage might be, but from a business perspective, it's pretty competitive, I believe. There's a little bit about eligibility criteria. And I think the one piece that isn't on the slide that I will mention is we aren't able to support a full-time student until you're in your final year. So if you're a full-time student, maybe in your first, second, or third years, great to explore your ideas. We can't help you until you're in your final year of studies, but we can help entrepreneurs between the ages of 18 and 39, Canadian citizens or permanent residents, we can support. the main reason this startup program is here is to support a new full-time business. And we basically define that as a business that started within the first 12 months. We are also able to help a startup as a side hustle as well. I'll touch on that quickly in a little bit. But some of the most important pieces are that, and the reason we give the resources in my first slide is we need a business plan and a cash flow. Those are two of the most important documents for us. We really want to understand how your business is going to operate and how it's going to make money over the long run. So love to chat to you more about your business in particular and what those documents really mean in a more in-depth conversation one-on-one. The most important part of our program, though, and this is a piece I want to spend actually have a slide on later on, but is that we have a mentorship program. We will match every entrepreneur that goes through our program with a volunteer mentor for 2 years. I am going to touch on a couple other programs that we can offer you support through. If you're starting a part-time business and you've got a full-time income, we've got a side hustle program. If you're a newcomer to Canada and you haven't yet established any Canadian credit, we've got the newcomer program. If you're looking to start a not-for-profit or social enterprise, we have a program to support you there. We've got a program to support Indigenous entrepreneurs, and we've just launched in March, very recently, the Black Entrepreneur Startup Program in partnership with RBC. So we've got a full range of support for all entrepreneurs that are looking to get started. And wanted to share that, and also will gladly answer questions later on, but gladly speak with you one-on-one about your specific business or situation and how you want to be supported. Mentoring, like I said, is probably the most important part of what we do. This is a quote from one of our mentors that we supported in one of the other provinces in the country. But typically, our mentoring program is set up. We match one mentor with one entrepreneur slash business. So one business gets a mentor. It's set up over a 2-year relationship. We say it's generally a monthly meeting, up to 4 hours a month of a commitment, but we usually want to see you meet on a monthly basis, set some goals, come back a month later, revisit those goals, talk about what you learned, how you could grow, set some new goals, keep coming back. That's sort of the idea. 2 years may seem like a long time for some people, but what we want to do, we know that in the very beginning, everyone's excited. They're looking to get started in business. They're on cloud 9. We want to make sure that when you're not on cloud 9 anymore, when you're in month 9, 10, 11, 12, and maybe you didn't quite reach those projections that you had set out, we want to make sure that even though you're feeling bad about that, you have someone to turn to, and that person can help lift you up through the next year in your business and help you get back on track. So that's why we have it set up for the long run. We typically like to match on location, but during COVID, we know we're doing this virtual. You know, it doesn't matter quite as much, but most importantly, it's a skill gap, and it's all about strategic business advice. That's really what it's about. It's not going to be matching you with someone who's going to do your books. No, they're going to look at your numbers and give you some great advice on how to use those numbers and grow your business. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on success stories because then you can actually see it to some of the entrepreneurs that we support. I just realized these might be on a timer, so I might have to jump back, but Erin is actually in St. John's, Newfoundland, and she's now sold this business, so she's one of our great successes. This is a business that might ring true to some of our students. You know, it's in the textile industry. She has a store that sells fabric and other textile products to help entrepreneurs or individuals that are looking to work with projects, or actually you might have some entrepreneurs that are looking to develop other products and sell. You don't know, but that's why I wanted to share this. She's actually gone into retail. So she's taking her art form and said, I'm going to sell this in the form of a retail operation. The other two examples aren't quite artists, but I have one more artist to share as well. But Rebecca Atkinson, she's actually the owner of a brewery. And I think she is shared among some of us on the call today that we've all supported Rebecca, and it shows how we can all work together to make sure that from our side that an entrepreneur can be successful. But she opened up on Sober Island, a brewery, which is sort of ironic in the name. But she's not only founded that business, she's gone on with Futurepreneur to take part in some of our growth accelerator programs, which has been really fantastic to see her come through, learn how to start the business, and then grow. So that's always been great to watch our entrepreneurs. And also during COVID, she was able to be successful, continue to be successful. And I think we lead that to some of the thought of supporting local in our local communities during these challenging times. And the last slide I have for a success is Carolyn and Josh Crew. They've actually created a company called Duckish Natural Skincare. And what they do is create skincare products. It came out of a challenge. They had I think it was a niece or a nephew was being born, and they wanted to find something natural for this person, for for a diaper cream, something that wasn't going to harm this baby. And what they found that was unique is that instead of having to spread on cream with your hands and getting all messy, they can basically like a deodorant stick that you could use to apply the cream. So it became a really neat invention, and they now have sell in locations, I think over 50 locations across the country, and they're doing really well. And the product that did extremely well during COVID was that when we were all being told to wash your hands and use hand sanitizer and everyone's hand was extremely dry, well, they had skin care lotion, and that really took off during COVID, and people were really looking to support local and keep their hands moist and soft during the pandemic. So they've done extremely well during COVID as well. The last one I'm going to share, that before my slide changes if I can, and I only share it because I saw in Facebook this morning, or maybe yesterday, she made a post, but Andrea Rawl, she's a past grad from NASCAD, and she actually has a store down on Brunswick Street called Inkwell Boutique, and she just celebrated 10 years in business. So she's another example of an artist who has she's gone into retail, but taken what she's learned from NASCAD to go into retail, and letterpress, I think, is her main skill set that she learned in NASCAD, and grow a business over that. So another success and an entrepreneur that we worked with. The last slide I've got here before I'm going to share a little bit about a couple of examples of some other places to get funding, but the last slide I have here is my contact information, so please write that information down if you wanted to chat one-on-one. Would love to have a conversation with you one-on-one, talk about how we can support you, and then guide you through some of the resources that we have, or also guide you through the funding program. So I'll leave this slide up while I share just quickly. We've been asked to share a couple other organizations that might be able to provide you with some support, because we're three of many amazing organizations that are in Nova Scotia that help support entrepreneurs. And the really great thing is that you come in and see one of us, and likely we're going to refer you to all the other ones, so you only got to get in the door. Sometimes people have a hard time getting in the door, but once you get in the door, you find one of us, we will make sure you're connected to the right organization at that moment in time. But just to give you an idea of some of the other places, so we have up to $60,000 in funding. If you were growing a larger business and maybe interested in, so I mentioned that our program is $60,000, it's $20,000 our money and $40,000 BDC. The BDC funds small and medium-sized enterprises all the time outside of us, so you can actually get a large amount of support from the BDC outside of us if you're looking to start a larger business. The credit unions have a great program, provincial loan guarantee program, where the provincial government will actually step in and guarantee up to 75 or 85% of the loan to help support the credit union in supporting you in business. And there's also another one that the federal government guarantees for all of the 5 big banks. If you're looking to get started, they have the Canada Small Business Financing Loan. So there's another one. And those ones are all basically set up to help support the bank in taking more risk because there's a government guarantee, but then support the entrepreneur in having access to capital. It's all about, in many cases, when you're getting started, having the right access to capital. So those few organizations that I just listed, I mean, you can get up to $1 million or even millions of dollars in support if you needed that to get started. Now, obviously, many of us right now are going to be starting businesses that might be $100,000 or less, but just to give you a couple of examples, Paul and Chris are going to both give some more examples of some of their program and financial support as well. So that's it for me. If there are any questions, certainly we'll hold on to them until all 3 panelists have had a chance to go, but it was great to chat here today, and we will chat to you a bit more during the question and answer. Stop sharing my screen and pass it over, I think, to Chris, who's going to go next.
Thank you so much, Dave. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation. Let me just see if I can find it here. You guys able to, let's see here. Okay, can you guys see that? Oops. Okay, so
Yes.
very briefly, yes,
Perfect.
My name is Chris Atwood, and I am the Executive Director of what's called the CBDC, Community Business Development Corporation, Blue Water. I've been managing CBDC Blue Water for a little over 2.5 years. And prior to that, I managed the Community Business Development Corporation, CBDC, in Yarmouth. So much the same. There's some differences. CBDC, we're a non-for-profit organization. We are what is considered an economic development agency. So our main role is and again, with CBDCs, our focus is in rural areas. So CBDC Blue Water really focuses in areas in rural HRM. So we don't really go into downtown Halifax, Dartmouth, or Bedford, but all the surrounding communities are the communities that we support. So a little bit about CBDCs. CBDCs have been around for a lot of them for over 35 years plus. In Nova Scotia, there's 13 community business development corporations across the province, 41 in Atlantic Canada, and each one of us, we're all independent, so we all have our own board of directors that sort of adjudicate all the loans that we review and approve. So the main tool that we have as far as helping our local or rural economies is supporting small businesses, and primarily through providing loans to those small businesses. Again, CBDCs you'll find us in Atlantic Canada. If you're outside of Atlantic Canada, whether it's in Quebec or Ontario or out west, there's what's called the Community Future organizations. Again, they're all part of the same family. So again, they all are able to support economic development by supporting small businesses in their community by predominantly lending money, providing consultation and training services, and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit about CBDCs. So you'll find us pretty much anywhere you're living in, from Sydney down to Yarmouth, you're in Nova Scotia, and from Newfoundland across to British Columbia, you'll find community future organizations that can help you start or grow your business. So to be a little more specific, CBDC Blue Water, our head office is located in Porters Lake. We do have satellite offices in Sackville, Spryfield, and down in Sheet Harbor, and out in the Hubbard's area. So CBDC Blue Water's one of the largest municipality, or HRM is one of the largest municipalities in Nova Scotia. So we do cover a large geographic area and service a large population of people. So roughly 130,000 people are within our catchment area. So if you come to our offices, here are the people you're going to meet predominantly. There's myself as executive director. If you're looking for business support or business counseling, or looking at taking advantage of some of our other training or programs, you'll either speak to Elaine Jackson or Jennifer O'Quinn. If you already have a loan with us and you're negotiating payments or whatever, you would talk to Sherry Mallard, who's our portfolio manager. And another program that CBDC offers, it's called the Self-Employment Benefits Program. So if you're unemployed or underemployed and you're looking at starting your business, you're able to take advantage of getting some of your EI benefits or whatever during the course of setting up your business. And Sheila Spicer would be the person who you would talk to. We've been doing some internal training most recently, because again, with the COVID environment, one of the challenges we find with the businesses that we're servicing and trying to help people to pivot their business to being more online and being able to market things. So Noah Matthews, he's our marketing coordinator, but he's also been doing a lot of training. We actually have a YouTube channel, CBDC Blue Water, if you want to check us out on YouTube, and we've done a few training things on how to create social media, create a social media presence for your business. So that's the team. Almost often when you talk about the products that we offer, again, we have much the same as as David Eisnor, we have a youth loan program meant for people between 18 and 34. All our programs, first-time entrepreneurship program, general loan program, an innovative loan program. And one thing that we can do, if you're working in what's called the social enterprise network, we can loan money to social enterprises. And we also have a clean tech loan program. When it comes to what we can loan to, again, the amounts can be as little as a few $100, and our maximum loan that we can lend is normally $150,000. We can go higher. Generally speaking, you'll hear me talk. We're what we call a debt financer, so we'll help you buy whether you need it. If you need to borrow money to buy equipment, or build a building or that kind of stuff. That's normally the kinds of things that we lend for. And as a debt financer, we often take security on the things that we're financing. In special cases, we do equity financing. So let's say you're a tech startup business, or you're wanting to, you've got some patents that you've developed or are in the process of developing. You can come to us as an equity investor. So what an equity investor would do is that they buy some shares into your business. So we do have we normally don't do a lot of equity financing, but we do have the capacity to do equity financing if that's the case. Along the sides, so again, a little bit about the self-employment benefits program with Sheila. So again, the SEB program provides entrepreneur support to eligible and employed participants. So if you are thinking about that, it gives you an income while you're starting your business. Another program that we have, if you're a current client of ours, you can make use of our entrepreneurial training fund. So that allows you to access, and there's no cost to this, so you can get an accountant or a strategic planner to come in and help you in the development of some of your business. A larger program that's available, actually not to just new and existing CBDC clients, but to all businesses in our service area, is the Consulting Advisory Service Program, or the CAASP program. So we actually administer that program on behalf of the federal government. So if you're looking at a diagnostic, bringing in a consultant to help you better manage your business, develop a marketing plan or market readiness, or looking at exporting, you can hire a consultant under this program. And as I say, it's up to $5,000 that you can access under the Consulting Advisory Services Program. Again, when it comes to businesses that we support, you name it, we can support it. So whether it's wholesale, retail, innovation, the innovation kind of stuff, accommodations, tourism, industries, you name it, we can, if there's a means that we can support that business, we'll go out of our way to try and see whether we can support that business. So almost anything under the sun, I guess. So again, sort of to change topics a little bit. So often when you're looking at starting up a business, there are multiple things multiple business resources that you can look at. So again, there's government agencies, government support organizations. And again, we can look at it from a municipal, provincial, or federal perspective. So generally speaking, if you're looking at maybe setting up your small business in your home, or setting up building a little building on your property or something, and maybe selling some goods there, that would often fall under municipalities. And so you're going to need to look at whether you have the right permits and planning documents that would allow you to do that. So you'd want to go to your local municipal office. Often they would either have an economic development officer that's going to help bring you through that process. Municipalities often own business parks or whatever. So again, if you're looking at a place to put your business, the municipalities would have a listing of properties that they would own that potentially you can use to have your business housed in. But again, a lot of cases it's planning, and so you can't discount the fact that your municipality has got an interest as a stakeholder in your business. From the provincial government perspective, the one thing you need to think about is registering your business. So that's through the Registry of Joint Stocks. You can often access additional services that the province might have through Access Nova Scotia. The provincial government also has a Nova Scotia Business Department, so they're there again. And if you have questions in regards to permitting and stuff like that, the Department of Nova Scotia Business is there to help you out with that. If you're looking at hiring somebody and looking for some potential grants that may be available to help you hire an employee, you'd want to talk to Employment Nova Scotia. And again, And again, on a bigger, broader space, there's a Crown corporation called Nova Scotia Business Inc. So again, dealing primarily with exporting and normally bigger businesses, but you never know. It's a resource that's out there in your community. Federally speaking, there's the Atlantic Canada's Opportunities Agency, or ACOA. They provide actually zero interest loans and things like that. But again, their primary focus is on export, manufacturing, and development. If you're looking at researching your business and trying to get some additional information in regards to just, what your market is and that kind of, and what, if you're looking at a specific business type, let's say, if you're into, let's say plumbing, for example, ISED, or Innovation, Science and Economic Development, if you go on their website and go through, they give you listings of the various industries and various businesses and sort of, what you can expect as far as revenue and expenses, whether you're a large business or a small business. So they've got a lot of resources that can help you when you get into what Paul's going to talk about, which is your business planning. And much the same as what David has spoken about, the Business Development Bank is out there, and they're out there at the BDC. Again, financing is what they're there to help you with. If you look into the nonprofit sector of people who can help you out in business, there's chambers of commerce. Often they have, if you want to become a member, there's member benefits and so on and so forth. They often lobby on behalf of the broader issues that are happening within your communities and the communities of interest, so that they're an organization that you might want to consider about joining or talking about. Business improvement districts, they're very specific and they're supported through the municipal government. Often they have various programs that help you with your business, whether it's facade improvement programs or little things that are going on. So there's a few here in Halifax, there's a Spryfield Business Commission, the Porters Lake Business Association, so those. And if you're a business located within their geography, by virtue of the fact that you're a business in their area, you're theoretically a member of that those business improvement districts. Business associations is a little bit different from chambers of commerce and business improvement districts, but again, they're there to provide mentorship and support for businesses in their local areas. When you reach outside, there's also what you call regional development agencies. Here in Halifax, we have the Halifax Partnership. Again, they're there. They have development officers and so on and so forth that you can chat with in regards to your business idea, and they may be able to point you in the direction for other funding opportunities or things that can help you enhance your business. Again, there's also universities, and many universities have entrepreneurship centers. St. Mary's has an entrepreneurship center. Mount St. Vincent has its Women in Business Center. Acadia University has its Acadia Center for Entrepreneurship. Again, those organizations which are embedded within the universities are again there to help people. So if they're another resource that's available for you to talk to see whether they can help you with your business. Again, sort of coming to the end of my presentation, other business, other non-for-profits, I kind of look at things from a funding perspective. You've got the Black Business Initiative, CEED, which is Paul's going to talk briefly as well. You've got Futurepreneur, as David Eisnor had indicated. Credit unions are out there. Community business development corporations are there as well. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of support mechanisms that are out there to support you grow your business. So all in all, CBDC, we have a part of our mission is that we believe in you and we want to see you succeed. So that's the end of my presentation.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Chris, for that great presentation. And thank you once again, David. So let me introduce you to Paul. Paul, are you ready?
I am. Just
all right.
I will share my screen.
Let's get going.
Everybody see that? Oops, not yet. Now you can. Everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, thanks, Greg, for having me and the guys. And like David was saying, we work very closely together. And usually when you come to one of us, you get to all three of us for sure, at least in the Halifax area. So as you can see here, so you want to be an entrepreneur. And I think as artisans, you're entrepreneurs. There's no other way to explain it. You want to make money at your craft, at your art, you're going to be an entrepreneur. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about what CEED's all about, because we've worked with countless artisans, folks from right out of NASCAD. We've had a number, like a large number of graduates out of NASCAD over the last several years. I've been with CEED now for about 3.5, almost 4 years. And we work with a large number of artisans and folks that were NASCAD graduates. And like I said, as artisans, they are indeed entrepreneurs. So who is CEED? We are Nova Scotia's premier resource for business support and education. We're definitely committed to advancing and supporting that spirit of entrepreneurship, and we've been doing it for more than 25 years. We're just about to have our 25th anniversary coming up now in the fall. And one thing we're definitely about, it's about innovative ideas. And when I say innovative, don't think it's tech-based innovation. I mean, that's where everyone's head goes right off the bat. It's not about technological innovation, although we do a lot of that as well. But if you have a new way of doing something, guys, that is innovation. And that's one thing that we encourage everyone to do. Look at different ways, at new ways of doing things. It's about creative enterprises and about scalable strategies. And people go, well, I'm comfortable with where I'm at, but if you don't build your business, you'll never make it grow. Like David and Chris, we have a number of programs that we deliver to folks who are interested in entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneurship education side, everything that we do is based on Lean Launchpad methodology. And if you Google that, you'll probably come up with a gentleman by the name of Steve Blank. I'm sure all you guys probably have heard Greg talk about Steve Blank and Lean Launchpad. Everything that we do was founded in Lean Launchpad methodology, and it's about identifying and solving your customers' problems. We do some business skills training as well. So through the course of developing your business model and your business plans, you're going to learn some business planning, some marketing, you're going to understand your financial statements. You need to understand where your money is coming from, and more importantly, where your money is going. We provide networking opportunities, and again, like David said, we're well connected throughout the community with our partners. I'm proud to say that we've actually created it's something brand new. It hasn't even come off the presses yet. But the Hub Nova Scotia, the Hub NS, we've partnered with an organization called Startup Space out of the U.S. and we've created a provincial entrepreneurship hub that we're going to be launching very, very soon. Some of our partners are included, and some of our existing clients are in there right now. But basically, it's going to be a one-stop shop for everything you need entrepreneurial. And Chris and his crew are going to be featured in there, as well as David and his, and all of the other service providers and partners throughout the entire province that are involved in entrepreneurship. Like David and Chris, we certainly offer coaching and advisory, and we have a number of programs that are associated with that. And like both the guys, we also do financing anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 at prime plus 2%. It's probably the lowest rate you'll find anywhere. And there are a number of eligibility requirements and stipulations involved with getting that cash. I know I saw one question was how long are the loans for. Our loans will go up to 5 years. For $5,000, you're looking at interest-free payments for the first 6 months. And you know what? We'll work with you, and David and Chris do as well. But we've had a number of clients that have come to us over the course of the last year. Look, COVID has kicked everybody. Every business has had a negative impact caused by COVID. Now, a lot of businesses have thrived because of COVID, but a lot of other businesses have had a huge negative impact. And we'll work with those clients to help them through. It's not about, we need to get that money back. We do need to get that money back. We want to work in a way that works best for all of us. So how does it all fit together with the education, the employability, and the financing piece? It's about creating strategies, setting goals, and being creative. I mean, being an entrepreneur, it's about critical thought and creative problem solving. It's about getting that education to understand those things and drawing that out of you and building a career for yourself in entrepreneurship. So I always joke a little bit, kind of half-heartedly, when I talk about why do people come to me, and I always ask people, why are you here? And everyone gives me the answer, I want to learn to be an entrepreneur, or I tried it and I did this and I want to find out the real way of doing it. And I always stop them and go, no, here's why you're here. You're here to find out if your baby looks like this or if your baby looks like this. And the problem is, if it looks like the picture on the right, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's understanding that as soon as you possibly can. It's too late if you've gone and gotten a loan and you've gone and signed a 5-year lease for space and you've launched your business and nobody's coming through the door. At that point, it's too late. You want to find out where the ugliness lies as early as possible. And that's what we do. We work with you to help you figure that out. We don't figure it out for you. You figure out where the gaps are, where the issues and the challenges may be. So I want to ask people, feel free to throw it in the chat or in the Q&A, but I always go here, and I don't mean to be a downer, but you know what? Lots of businesses fail, and they fail for a whole bunch of reasons. And in fact, a lot of businesses fail in the first 18 months. And does anybody have any idea about how many businesses actually fail in the first 18 months? Anyone? I can't see the answers if you've answered, but 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 18 months. And they fail for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of the main reasons, and this is why I wanted to sort of go through what we do. You can look at our website for that. One of the main reasons why businesses fail is an unviable business model, not plan, model. And that's what I want to talk about. That is what we focus on at CEED. It's about developing that viable business model. Now, a lot of people may ask, well, what's the difference between the business model and the business plan? And I'll tell you, the model comes first. And Greg, I know you talk a lot about this stuff with your students. So I'm sure you folks are familiar with what the business model canvas actually look like. And A business model, it's how a company creates the value that it's going to present to its customers. And of course, you see here, it's the business model canvas that was made famous by Alexander Osterwalder and his company Strategizer. And that is probably one of the key tools that we actually use to help folks get through determining what their business model looks like. And as a model, it is the core, it is the foundation or the blueprint of your organization and of your company. So if you don't have a solid foundation, if you don't have a solid business model, then the business you build on top of that is going to be shaky. It is the key, it's the main idea of your business, together with the description of how it works. And it's the mechanism that a company uses to generate profit, and it helps you figure out how you're going to actually generate that profit. And as I said, one of the main tools, and we have a number of tools that we use, but one of the main tools certainly is the business model canvas. And through all of our programs, we walk you through each of these components. Every one of our workshops is attached in some way, shape, or form to the business model canvas. So the plan, your business plan is your roadmap. So if your business model is the foundation of what you're going to do, then your plan is the roadmap to get you there. It's almost like your model is your skeleton and your business plan is everything built on top of that. It's all the details of how you're going to accomplish what you said you're going to accomplish in your business model. Your plan is the actual structure or the roadmap of your company. It gives you the detail of how you think the idea could potentially work. It's the way that your company presents your strategy, and more importantly, your projected financial performance. If you're going to come to any one of us looking for financing, that's one of the key components that we look at. Like, how are you going to make money, and how much do you think you're going to make? That's important. It's important to us. We want to get our money back, but it's important to you too, because you want to be able to make money. That's why you're in business, to be able to make money for yourself. When you focus solely on a business plan, it is very linear, as you can see right here. I mean, you come with your idea, you say, I'm going to write my plan and I'm going to launch and I'm going to execute. The problem is your business plan is done this way is based solely on assumption. It's a work of fiction. It's a total work of fiction. And you might think that the road is this straight, is this linear. And I actually thought it was like that for about 20 years. Let me show you what the real path to success in entrepreneurship looks like. This is your path. And in fact, it probably, this picture doesn't have enough turns and hills in it. This is the path that you're going to follow. You're going to create hypotheses. You're making assumptions. You got to prove them. And I always tell people, I don't ever ask someone to prove themselves right, because we're human and we like to be right. And if I tell you to prove yourself right, you will. I tell you to prove yourself wrong. And when you can't, you must have been right. But it is a very iterative journey. So if you were wrong about a particular assumption or hypothesis, then you change it. You make a new one. And then you test it. And you keep doing that. Rinse and repeat until you're right. And then you move on to the next assumption. You're invalidating, you're pivoting, you're developing your customers, you're finding what we call problem solution fit. You need to understand what your customer's version of a problem is. They're buying solutions from you. They're not buying a product. They're not buying a service. They're paying for a solution. So if you're providing a solution, you need to understand what the problem is from the eyes of your customer. And that's what our process actually walks you through. And that's the difference between working solely with a business plan and working with a business model that precedes your business plan. And they do indeed go together. And as you see here, it's about discovering who your customers are, knowing them intimately, validating those assumptions that you've made through the course of building out your business model. Your business plan is actually part of the execution. it's not part of that search for a successful business model. You find that first, and then you write your plan, and you execute that plan around that particular model. That's all I've got. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out to me directly, pmcginn@seed.ca. Check out our website at www.seed.ca. And by all means, in the coming weeks, you're going to see some announcements on social media and on our website talking about the Hub NS. And it's definitely going to be the one-stop shop for everything entrepreneurial: questions, answers, connection to partners, connection to service providers. You name it, it's all going to be there. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Great presentation. And by the way, I think someone answered. It was Susan Wilcox who answered more or less the right with the right number. She said it was 90%.
Oh, that was close. Close.
Yeah, that was close. That was close. All right, so I'm glad you mentioned earlier. I mean, three of you, when you mentioned the fact that we work on almost on a perfect, kind of like a chain, and a perfect synergy in order to deliver that kind of, comprehensive service to our clients. One thing I need to do, I need to explain before we move on to questions. It's the fact that what we're offering, it's more or less, I say, complementary to many aspects. We have a lot of overlaps. If you take like Chris and David, Chris from CBDC and David, some of the services are more or less the same, but many are, I would say, complementary to a point. Let's say for David, it's mainly young entrepreneurs, right? While I think for Chris, you don't have too much, of a basically of a ceiling with regards to age. If I'm not mistaken, I think for CEED as well, there is some kind of a limit. And some of you, I know some of you focus more on regional development, while others are more, I'll say, focus on emphasize youth entrepreneurship and education and entrepreneurship development. So I think it's very important that we understand the ecosystem, and understand why sometimes we choose our stakeholders and why sometimes we work with them. Like I mentioned before, some stakeholders, they are basically de facto, right? A government representative, the taxman, is a de facto stakeholder. Okay, he's a de facto stakeholder. It's not like you choose to have your government representative, your taxman. It's the situation. It is what it is. But if you have the privilege to choose your stakeholder, you have the privilege to choose your partner, or partnering businesses. I think it's very important that you are like careful on your selection to see whether the values are basically aligned, whether the interests are aligned. And I think it's extremely important to understand when Paul say, when you have one, you have everybody else. And that's how I knew the gentleman, if I'm not mistaken, during my 8 days and with the Black Business Initiative for like 16 years, if I'm not mistaken. So whether it's CEED, whether it's CBDC, whether it's Futurepreneur, I've worked with them mainly in some like multiple projects, whether it's for African Nova Scotian or the whole community itself. So yes, choosing your stakeholder carefully can bring value. And this is something that can sometimes literally the turning point for your business to succeed, to thrive, or maybe that can be the wrong. It's almost like any normal relationship, and sometimes that can be literally your downfall. And again, sometimes it is what it is, and it's better than we know, better than you know well in advance who you're dealing with. And that's why choosing your partner, choosing your supplier, choosing your client. Sometimes you may have a client when you need to say, you know what, this is too much. I remember it down in the States, there is, I think it was T-Mobile or Sprint, or they decided to pay a customer to leave because it was getting too expensive to basically to service them, because you know, it was the wrong organization, the wrong businesses they were dealing with. So it was very expensive. So it's very important. It's very important. And our webinar, like you can imagine, basically includes people the CEL will be dealing with. Okay, whether it's for international cooperation, like we mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago, whether it's business training with CEED, CBDC, or Futurepreneur, whether it's facilitate access to financing. We probably are, if I'm not mistaken, the only, I would say, cultural incubator or incubator itself, apart in Overcore, that can actually help you doing that. And that's why we're having those arrangements. There's MOUs, the partnership we're signing with the CBDCs of the world, with the Futurepreneur of the world, with the CEEDs of the world, in order to deliver the maximum, to have the maximum impact on the creative economy, because we strongly believe with $950 million a year, okay, it is a sector, it's in an industry we need to take seriously. And that's why I'm so glad NSCAD basically kind of decided and keep supporting us and investing substantial amount of resources and making that happen. And thank you once again, gentlemen, for coming here. So we'll start with the questions. Okay, let's start with student. Okay, is that the first one? Okay, that's the first one from Wilma. Okay, students have a large debt, but loans with interest will seem prohibitive. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's that question is for David, but I think there is a confusion about interest only and pay interest on top of it. So would you care to elaborate just a bit, please, David?
Yeah, perfect, thanks. So if I was at all when I spoke, it's for our loan, it's interest only in the first 12 months, and then it's interest plus principal for the remaining 4 years. So that's you still have to pay the loan back. It's just that we recognize it takes a bit of time to start the business, so we give a little bit of a principal payment holiday until a year later. The question I think you're more referring to is credit. I think we're all going to look at an entrepreneur's personal credit when it comes to giving a loan. We want to look at repayment history and understand, have you had debt before and have you made those payment consideration? We want to make sure that you are making enough money to pay your student loan bill. I mean, that's one of your bills. That's one of your payments that you have to make on a monthly basis. We want to make sure you have enough money to pay that, as well as pay yourself. You need to eat groceries. You need to, if you have a car, there's a car payment. We want to make sure you've thought about those personal expenses that you have. And we want to make sure you can afford to live off of the business, take money out of that to pay the loans, but also live. So that's something we do look at. If you have a large student loan, it doesn't mean that we're not going to give you a loan. It just means we're going to take that as part of the bigger picture. So something to consider. Great question.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, the credit, and I understand that can be the charge. It's really prohibitive. It's really prohibitive, especially the fact that for many art students, it's a choice. It's a choice because of the passion. Why I'm saying that is because I remember when the first degree I got was in accounting, because I believe everyone, needs to pay, to do their taxes, whether it's business or individual. So it was really to find a job, not because, no offense to accounting, I'm a creative person. So it's not because I love accounting, it's because it will help me find a job. So when you choose, this is a very, very tough decision when you choose to go that path with student loan, knowing that not necessarily you're gonna get by within 2-3 years after graduation. And that's why, kind of like, I usually say that to my art students, I have a lot of respect, right? Because of the choice, because of the passion, because of, true to themselves. Even sometimes that can be, like she just mentioned, prohibitive. Great. Anyone would like to add with that interest questions or debt, the amount of debt, or we can move on to the other one, to the next one.
I can maybe make a quick question or comment in regards to debt.
Sure.
Again, and it's not the be all and end all. Again, it's just a thing that we look at. Some people have various look at it. It is a tool that we use, much the same as David has said, a tool that we look at. And how much debt you're carrying may or may not impact the ability for you to get a loan. It's and what I'm more interested in as a lender is that, what is your capacity, or what when I look at your credit history, I mean, what has been your history of repaying debt? That's probably a more important thing to recognize when we're looking at that credit score piece.
And another thing I would like to add regarding the credit, I'm not saying it's way less flexible than a bank, but a bank, it's really rigorous. It's very fixed, and I would say, because they have to abide by the Basel Agreement, literally an international banking law, the national, and all the way down to the bank itself. So for bank, that's one of the difference between development agencies and banks. It's for CBDCs, it's not only, or a Futurepreneur or CEED, it's not only just the loan, but go along with you training and mentorship, how you basically help you dealing with the financing better, right?
And when you look at that, there's good debt and bad debt. I mean, I would look at the student loans as being good debt. Good debt, you've gotten loans to get an education. If you've got a lot of credit card debt, and we ask you the question, why do you have all this? Well, we're taking trips down. Well, you're not doing that now, but if you've used your credit to buy, luxury things as opposed to whatever, I mean, it shows us how you're using your money. So right. There's good debt and there's bad debt. If you bought a car, that's going to show up on your Equifax score. If you're buying at various assets, those things will show up on your credit score. As I say, there's good debt and there's bad debt. If you can, and as I say, when we look at that debt, we'll often ask questions. Well, why do you have that? In some cases, people get sick, and that impacts maybe a business. Maybe somebody goes into bankruptcy, so they have very little or zero credit history. Well, we're not necessarily going to decline somebody in getting a loan if they've got bad credit, if they can explain what were the situations that brought you to the point to have that. So, and again, as I say, debt is not. People shouldn't necessarily be afraid of debt. It's looking at what it is what we would look at, particularly if you're coming to us looking at starting a loan, and how you service that debt, and recognizing that within your business plan, if you're not planning on making any draws on your business, how are you going to live? I mean, that's going to be a question I'm going to ask you. So you need to build in when you're doing your business plan. I mean, those are things that you need to bear in mind when you're doing that.
And people like the fact that you can explain that too, right? It's what do you do with it? What do you do with it? And I'm glad you mentioned what kind of debt. It's what do you do with it? I have another question for Chris. I think we're running just a bit out of time. Chris, can you be a client for free training if you don't have a loan with the CBDC?
And again, as I say, we're quite territorial. So there's 13 CBDCs in Nova Scotia, 41 across Atlantic Canada. The Entrepreneurial Training Fund that we have, that's specifically for our clients. The CAASP, if you're an existing business and you want to take advantage of the Consulting Advisory Service program, we actually administer that program on behalf of the COA. So as long as money is out there, we can use that money to support. You don't have to be a CBDC client. We also do various training like LAE training programs throughout. And again, you don't necessarily have to be a client to take advantage of some of those programs as well. So I say if you're looking for training and you think that that's something that's important for you, and if you're in a local CBDC area, ask us and we can tell you whether we can provide you training or not. We want to help you.
Yeah. And we administer the same training that Chris was just talking about as well. And like you said, it's for clients. So, I mean, just because you're not a loans client doesn't make you not a client. Like if you've taken any of our programs, we consider you to be a client, and we certainly look at an application for the training fund.
Yeah, perfect. Great. Another question is, what is the interest on the loan and what is the timeline for the loan? I think each of you can answer, I think you have different conditions. Yeah, first, let's start with Chris.
I'll talk again, our loans, again, it really depends on what we're financing. So normally what we try when it comes to the term of the loan, so if you're buying a piece of equipment that might have a useful life of 5 years, then we'd term that loan for 5 years. If it's a working capital loan, and again, people often, if you need working capital, you're starting your business up, in the first couple years, it's going to be hard to make ends meet. And particularly if you're needing to have money coming in to sustain yourself. So working capital helps with some of those expenses with your business. Now with those, that would be a shorter term. And again, sometimes our loans are a mixture of financing an asset plus some working capital. So the terms can vary immensely. So based on the life of the asset, and again, if you're financing a building, we might be able to lengthen out that the term of the loan for, well, most terms are 5 years renewable. So we amortize the loans over 25 years. So as I say, that's one thing. Interest rates, again, variable based on what the money's being used for. If it's purchasing a hard asset, then we can finance that. We know what the value of that is, and we know if anything were to go wrong, what we could recover from a sale of that asset. So your interest rates, if you're looking at pure working capital, the interest rate will be much higher. Our interest rates generally start at the prime plus 2%. And
thank you.
That's that.
Yeah. And
I can jump in with ours, and it's prime plus 2.75. Our loan right now is 6.2% interest. The interest is the term that's just for that first 12 months is the interest, and then it's interest plus principal for the remaining 4 years, and that means it's an amortization of 48 months. So that means that the amount that you borrow is divided by, and that's added to the interest every month starting in month 13. If you do take the side hustle program, that one's slightly different in that it's a 3-year amortization. It's just, but again, it only matters if you're going to take that loan. And those are things that the term on the loan. So while it's a question here today, the term on the loan, I think you almost need to, I think, do your shopping, find out what everyone has, choose what's right for you. You know, we're going to give you a high level overview, but speak with us one-on-one, because the interest rate is only one term, many important terms that we're all going to give you to consider.
Yeah. And just to let you know, the CEL NASCAD, we can help you navigate that. And like I mentioned before, these are the gentlemen we've been personally been working with for years. So anytime you'd like to have some, some snapshot about what's going on, we can guide you to exactly where you need to be. And okay, so let's move to this, the next question. I think you just answered the side hustle question, Chris, David. So another one, when setting up an art-related business, artists must deal with cheap products made offshore. And the lack of interest in Nova Scotia in spending on well-made local products, that's very important. How would you account for challenges such as this business and a business plan? That's a great, yeah.
They're not the same customer. One thing that everyone needs to understand is your customer. Who is your customer? And you're right, it is a challenge, but they're two very different businesses with two very, very different customers. So those folks that want the cheap offshore knockoff of whatever, they will probably never be your customer. And a prime example is, and I had this one client, he was a baker, and he baked some amazing breads, and his whole business, his whole value proposition was around hard to get quality ingredients and quality breads. And I asked him, I said, so where are you going to be located? And he goes, I found this great little location, high traffic, but Superstore is down the road that way, and Sobeys is down the road that way. And I said, okay, well, how are you going to price? And he says, well, I got to compete with them. I went, you in your mind, you're not going to compete with Sobeys and Superstore. And I said, first of all, they're different customers. I said, those people who go to Sobeys and Superstore are expecting, it's Ben's bread, it's wholesome bread. It's what, $2.69 for a loaf of bread. Your customers are expecting to pay $4, $5, $6 for a loaf of bread. So don't bother trying to compete, because the problem that you're solving is very, very different.
Yeah, and really, it's how you target. Which segment you want to target. And please, if you're starting, don't try to go and compete with mass production. Okay, that's not gonna work. You don't have the capacity to do that. Go, especially for the for creative industry, try to be original, and sometimes your story can actually back you up. And when Paul's mentioned, they are not your customer, they are not your customer. They are not your customer. So it reminds me of the that old Seinfeld episode about the soup Nazi. Right, the guy is good, bad attitude, but people still line up. Why? The soup. They are lining up. You see, so we need to know it's what are you proposing? And when Paul earlier talked about the value proposition, this is what you need to propose. And for art, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I think an artist is well equipped to do that.
And I'd like to make it again just another brief comment there, Greg, in regards to your business plan. When you start out, and you might actually start out trying to undercut your competition to gain a market share. Your business plan is your business plan. Don't think of it as, it's something that the financial institutions need. It should be a living document. It should be something that you should refer back to regularly in order to, see how things are changing within your market and how you're going to change to address those. And as I say, I agree wholeheartedly. Price isn't necessarily the only factor to consider, and really knowing your customer is so important. So again, it might be a smaller customer base, but if they're willing to pay more money for a product, then and a quality product, then if that's your market, and you've got to identify where that is.
Thank you very much, Chris. I think we have to, we're just gonna run just a bit. We have a couple of questions. I don't know if you can give us some additional couple of minutes. It won't be too long, gentlemen. Another question, I would assume as a student, you'll basically make ends meet. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a first one. I understand that most businesses don't expect to break even until after their first 2 years. Can you address this? I think we'll go with one person for the break-even point. Who would you like to address?
I can jump in on that if you'd like. So
Ahead,
I think every business is different, you know. So that's a blanket statement that may or may not be the case for many entrepreneurs, and what you're factoring into that break even may not matter. So I think what you need to do, when we always get someone to provide a cash flow forecast, it take a lot more to go into that today than we have, but what we want to see is that you're able to map out what revenue you're going to make on the top, what your expenses are on the bottom, and what is your bank account balance at the end of a month. We ask you to do that over a period of 24 months. If you have negatives, so yes, you may not break even, but we want to see, do you have cash? If you have negatives, we want to make sure you're either borrowing enough money in the very beginning to account for those negatives so you don't have negatives, or cut costs, or find a way to make more money.
Yeah.
The cash flow is likely more important to look at than the break-even analysis at this point in time, because you really want to make sure that you don't run out of cash. You've heard the expression, cash is king. You don't want to run out of cash. You want to make sure that you properly finance the business. That, again, a lot more to go into that and how to do a cash flow than just a quick couple second answer. But that's what you want to think of, what I would believe, unless jump in.
Because the person was talking about, you know, vis-a-vis the amount of debt a student already have, right? So I think thank you very much for that answer. And just to put it in perspective, MCI, a very old telecom company down in the States, it took them 10 years before they break even. 10 years. 10 years before making profits. So
but they had a lot of cash though, Greg.
Yeah, I know.
They had the cash to be able to do that. For a lot of small businesses, that just isn't possible. So, and like I typed in the room, if it takes small business that long to break even, then there's something wrong with your model, and you need to work with it. If you have the cash to sink into it, great. But if you don't, you need to look at your model.
Yeah, no, it's just to, you know, to follow up on the type of business. Okay, for high tech firm, new technologies, for instance, no one can expect a very short, you know, period of time with regards to break even, right? So it really depends. This is, like David just mentioned, this is a blanket statement, and it's really depend on the size and the type of industry. We're going to move on. I would assume as a student, you'll basically make ends meet. That was my experience anyway. And COVID-19, how did it help? I think it was for the same person. Okay, it was for the same person. Okay, anyway. So all the panelists are aware that visual arts, Nova Scotia provide business training for artists.
I think it's just great to know. Thank you for sharing that, Wilma. No, I wasn't aware of that specifically, so I appreciate knowing that. It's good to have the support. I think artists, up until more recently, haven't had the proper entrepreneurial training and education that comes with what they're about to do. So I love to see that is now starting to happen. So great to see. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And I know Paul had to go. He has another engagement. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the extra time. Thank you for your time for the presentation, and for that generous 1.5 hours of good conversation and information and education. And once again, I would like to say that we are here, CL, to help the art community to connect you with Chris, David, expert from CEED, CBDCs, NSBI, everything. This is why we choose carefully our stakeholders. It's really to help you. Like Paul mentioned earlier, when you see one, you see all. Okay, so please get in touch with us and we will help you train, connect you with the right person. So once again, thank you, Chris. Thank you, David. Thank you, Paul. And we hope to see you next week and shine. And we not just one particular, community who's predominant. You may have to deal with basically 4 or 5 different communities. So how do you actually have a business that can thrive in a diverse community or in a community that is not yours? So this is the topic we're gonna explore next week. Please join us once again for a wonderful webinar. And thank you very much, gentlemen, for your generous time. And thank you, and see you soon.
Thanks very much, Craig.
Thank you.
You have a good one.
See you guys later.
You too.